Okay, so we're recording there. And as usual, guys, just don't be afraid to speak up. Yell at me, it's okay. I have marked you all down as attended at this point. These are recorded, so I always kind of go back and look at it in case somebody joins, like 10 minutes later, so that way you'll get credit too. I'll look at it, and if, we'll go from there. So, all right, so I'm going to minimize that, and I got to kind of get rid of the chat for now because it'll take up too much space probably. So, but again, I'll watch for it, but let me know if I'm not paying attention to you. So, I know I think most of you have been to the introductory session. If you weren't, don't panic. I'm looking at you, Wendy. We're not going to get that wild today with this, but this is a really meat and potatoes kind of subject, guys. We're talking about assignments, forums. Discussions is what I'm trying to say, but I know we're brainwashed to say forums from Moodle in terms of the semantics of it, guys. Assignments are the same thing. So in quizzes, the same thing there. So 2 out of 3 ain't bad, right? So it's just, discussions. That's pretty easy transition to make. Or in Canvas, discussions are forums in Moodle and so forth. So what we have here, and most of you probably got with the sandbox, you should have something that looks like this. You've got that blank sandbox course. When you open it up for the first time, go to that course, it's going to look just like this. But no, it's kind of ominous looking. Not sure what to do, where to go. This is the modules page, really, is what this is, which can be, it's also the front page automatically at this point, but it is also located on your little menu here, the course menu under modules. You may notice there are links to, for example, discussions, assignments. We'll talk about that. That's a little tricky. I'm sorry. Bear with me. Quizzes. So these are just different ways to get to all of this stuff. You may remember in Moodle that activities block, or you may still use that activities block where it shows like all the quizzes on that one page. That's kind of like this version of it. This is a much better laid out version to see all of those type of things. And you may be wondering, man, they got to be bouncing around the front page, all these different links. That's kind of like Moodle, right? Yeah, it's kind of like that. But there's also that to-do list that'll pester you, which is a good thing. It works for you and then tells you what you need to grade, tells them what they need to do. So the to-do list is a great thing there. But obviously, this is the course front page. Some of you do not like the look, this very vanilla basic look. We'll kind of start establishing that in a second. I'm going to actually create all these things today, okay? Live and in person. We're going to look at it as a student, see that perspective. This is pretty basic level stuff, but important. I'll try to highlight the really important stuff as we go along. But before we begin, so what we're going to do is create a new module. And again, modules is by default the course homepage. And you do have the option to use pages to make this totally different and fancy to whatever you want it to look like, okay? That's another session as far as doing that. We're just going to stick with the basic. We migrate your courses from Moodle, which is driving me partially insane at this point. But and a word about that, the migration is really good overall. Like, we haven't seen it drop any quizzes. I'm sure it will eventually, guys. There's, we're migrating a lot, hundreds of gigs of content, for things not to go wrong would be unprecedented and strange. So I'd be really scared if things didn't go wrong. I mean, something's wrong beyond that. So anyways, that's the good news. It's 90-ish% great, accurate. We have noticed on occasion it will not transfer a PowerPoint, a Word doc, a video file. This is hit and miss. There's no logic to it. It's kind of just the way it is, guys, because some of your courses, guys, have been 13 years in Moodle, going through all these different versions of Moodle, and they don't even work in Moodle sometimes. Some of these links that Canvas is not, or they don't even actually work in your courses. So there is that dimension to it. Having said that, though, good news is they're actually there in Canvas. The files are. They just don't show up on your page, your home page. So what we're doing, just because we are kind-hearted souls, is we're looking at each of your courses, and we're kind of fixing that problem. We're adding it back in for you at a marginal cost of $10.99 per course.
Our usual fee.
Usual fee. So that's the good news. If you ever see like a little dash and a C at the end of your course, that means we've completed it or certified it. So we're kind of working on that for summers, obviously precedent, and we're kind of getting into the falls now, actually. So that's kind of where we're at. So do not panic if you miss a file. You can add it yourself. I'll show you how today really quickly, but just letting you know, don't panic. We are aware of that. It's to be expected, yeah. It's just part of this transition. Migrations have their issues. So Anyway, let's go ahead and get started here. You can follow along in your sandbox if you want, or you can just watch up here. It's up to you, however you want to play along. So what we'll want to do, though, this is a totally fresh, blank, new default course, right? So I don't have anything, so I want to hit Create New Module. I can do it up here, too. I can just click Create New Module. We're going to call this, I've already got some stuff in there, Week 1. And I'm just going to hit Add Module. So there I go. I've got that one. I'll add another one just to give us something to kind of look at here. Oops, I'm sorry. Hit the wrong button. So we're going to do Week 2. So again, this could be topic 2, whatever you want to call it, guys. I'm just doing that to give it some structure so you can kind of see how this is going to look in real life. A couple things about the menu options. Notice the little circle with the line through it, how it's kind of grayed out. That means it is not published. This is the equivalent of Moodle's hide and show. Okay? Think publish, train your brain as much as you can. Hide and show in Canvas is publish, unpublished. Notice the course itself is unpublished. It's red right now, the red status there. If I hit publish, it's going to turn green in a second, hopefully. And that means the course is available to your students. So this is a nice little obvious thing. It's much better than the Moodle way of having to decipher how to open and hide your courses. So there's that, or close your courses. So, and you can kind of go back and forth. I should tell you, if you start entering grades in the grade book or an auto grades, a quiz, whatever happens, the minute grades are established, this button stuff goes away, just so you know. They kind of don't want you shutting it down once you start grading. So there are ways around that if that's an issue for you. We've never seen that, I don't think, but it could be. So you just let us know if that's a problem for you, but that will go away once the course really becomes live and the grades are entered, just so you know. So I've got my course homepage here, my content. Hey, Sue, you're only getting 80% credit for this, Sue. You're on the phone. Right? Extra credit. I know.
I was just listening.
Sue risked her life to listen to the first six minutes of this. I don't think it was worth it, Sue. But, you know. Anyways,
Yeah.
did you almost have a wreck just listening to us talk about it? I'm sorry. So again, what we're doing here is we've created our little modules, just using the plus module for that. And now we're inside these weeks, chapters, topics, you know, like in Moodle. And we've got the plus icon. Again, this is hide show. I click it, it's green check mark, published. Means our students can see it. And that kind of works in Moodle like for the whole week or the whole topic, just like in Canvas. And you can do it individually too for everything we'll add. So that's what that means. Then we have the other options on the side. And this is just editing the label. We called it Week 1. You could, you know, if you ever want to go back and change that. There's locking stuff too, guys. You can lock for dates, and you can also lock based on requirements. That means quizzes, assignments, whatever. So you can really gate these things if you want to go that way. I actually recommend this. I know it'll probably take us a year or two to get there for you to really get into this, but this is nice because you can say, you can do badging this way. You can tile this together. You know, the students can see, you know, what they've done. It's a nice way for them to see what they've done too. It's like activity completion in Moodle. How many of you actually use that? Okay, yeah, it's gotten really messy, and it's always been a hard thing to see. It's a buried report you have to really search for. It's actually gotten worse to find it. And even when you do find it, it's this huge grid. It shows a lot of things in your course, everything really, and it is hard to look at. So this is a better system, but we'll cross that bridge. But just letting you know you have the ability to do that. So again, and you can delete, you can duplicate, all that kind of stuff. The shared comments thing, Commons is Canvas is like, how should I put this? Open course sharing, resource sharing area. So if somebody created this really awesome geography class and they wanted to share it so everybody else at another college could use it and import it or take elements from it, that's the way to do that. Or even these assignments or whatever. You know, you may never use that, most of you won't, but it is there. There is this thing called Commons, so we'll cross that bridge later. Anyways, you can move. You can also drag and drop move here, by the way, on this screen. I have said in some of the previous sessions, and it is very true, this is way less drag and droppy. I know it's very technical. It's way less drag and droppy than Moodle. There's good and bad. A lot of you get mystified with the drag and drop when it doesn't work. And it can be buggy, and it can also annoy you. And students, if you don't have a big monitor and you're not comfortable with managing windows, you know, we've gotten a lot of phone calls over the years about drag and drop. It's great when it works, but it can also be a total disaster. Canvas is really big on the old browse, locate your file, choose it, the old-fashioned way. The good news there is it is pretty bulletproof. I mean, it's hard to mess that up. It's very straightforward. Is it less convenient in some ways? Yeah, and drag and drop. And there are screens you can drag and drop on. It's don't get me wrong, but I'm just saying this, this screen in general is, other than moving weeks or items, it's, less drag and drop. But I'll move that back up there. And obviously you can kind of expand and collapse. There's nothing really there to show. But where is the actual content? How are we going to add stuff? Files, quizzes, assignments, whatever, discussions. I'm going to click the little plus icon for our week 1 module here. Eventually. And here's our little menu. You see this in Moodle right now. It's kind of that graphical thing. It usually cuts off and you can only see half the stuff. So anyways, it's a little more streamlined here. So we have assignments, and this basically means the same thing it means in Moodle at this point. Assignments come in many flavors. They're submitting a paper to you, an upload, a file upload. Online text, you want to give them a box, they type in text. If you're only looking for a paragraph or two and you don't really care too much about formatting, that's a good way to go, so you don't have to worry about the files, all the joys that come with files, and the complications of files. So that's basically digital Dropbox, upload, all these systems call it different things. Assignment, quiz, basically just like Moodle, test, exam, quiz, whatever. I should mention surveys are built into the quiz tool. So if you're wondering about surveys, and we'll show you this in a minute, I'm trying, guys. That's how you basically would add surveys, and it's nice, and we'll kind of talk about that. Files, if you want to add a file, it's pretty obvious. A page, and Moodle has a thing called Page 2. These are very similar. It's basically just creating another page in Canvas. And in another session about, layout, course design and layout, that session, we'll talk about, this is the default modules page. This is what you get, cookie cutter. It's vanilla. It's hard to get lost, but it's kind of scrolly like Moodle. If you got 16 weeks, it's a scroll, it's a slog. Pages will let you get past all that and be really creative and add a bunch of beautiful images, which you cannot add on this page. They've kind of locked you. They really have restricted you from making this a mess, is what they're really trying to do here. Some of you will be totally happy with this. It's great and it's good. That's fine. But if you want to do creative stuff like add images and do tables and do button links and do deep level linking and make it beautiful, pages are probably what you want to set as your home page, and you can do that. So that option is out there, and we'll talk about that eventually. So discussions, again, this is forums, the discussion boards, so it's pretty basic stuff. Text header is kind of like, think of a label in Moodle, like it said week 1 up there. It's kind of a text header. I should warn you again, if you add images or try to, they're just links. It's like it's a link, you click on it and then you see the image. It's not going to add direct images to this page, guys. That's what pages are for. And if that sounds complicated to create your own page like that, it's way simpler. Like their system of doing it is somewhat brilliant. So don't panic. Doesn't mean you're doing a bunch of hyperlinking, creating a bunch of tables and knowing HTML and doing a lot of management. It's a lot cleaner than it sounds. So external URL, that's just web link, External tool, that is for you guys who use publisher content, Cengage, MindLinks, there's a million of these guys out there. So anything you want to bring over from a publisher site, say you're really using the publisher site for most of your course, but you need to link it up here for grades purposes or just so they can see it in this Canvas course, that's what those are. We'll need to contact, we already have done this for a number of you at this point, but you'll need to contact your publisher representative and say, hey, we're going to Canvas, or let us know and we'll do it for you. And hey, we need the Canvas version because we've got the Moodle version, because it's different, guys. It's a different setup. So, but those all exist. It's fine, but just making you aware what that is. Most of you don't use that, but for those that do, that's what it is. So let's go ahead and click on assignment here. We're going to add an assignment. And notice in my box here, I click new assignment. So I got to kind of click it. I'm creating something new here. And I just need to give it a name. I can also indent if I want on this level. You can also do it when we actually get on page 2. But anyways, so I'm going to call this first assignment. I can type. Okay, add item. So again, what we're doing here is adding an assignment. And there it is, our first assignment. Notice again how it has all the options, kind of like you see the menu stuff. It's there. Notice again, I can control everything at the top week level by clicking that. Probably don't really want to right now. I haven't really set it up. You want to click on it. Be wary of clicking over here, guys. I know that you see edit over here. It's really just talking about the title, that level. Click on the actual link of the assignment to actually change it. So here it is. It's pretty basic. We don't have much. You can add rubrics to almost anything in Canvas. For those of you, that's another session. I know I say that a lot, but these really are. If we got into that, guys, we'd spend probably 10 minutes on that alone at least, and that'd really throw us off today. But notice we are published. I kind of hit that. Click it again if you want to publish it. Common sense stuff. Edit is what we want to do. So we got a title. Here's where you probably want to put your instructions in. You know, we got our little description box here. You know, I'm going to say, please upload. You can use your imaginations, you know, whatever you want to say there. Here's how many points it's worth. So if I want to say 10 points, I put 10 points there. Assignment group. This is like categories in the Moodle gradebook. We'll talk more about this when we cover the gradebook. This is where this is one of the more, how shall I say, mildly irritating parts of Canvas. They have this page, you probably noticed it, called assignments, that they put everything that you would just think generically. Like a quiz is an assignment, right? Like everything's an assignment, right, in your class. But we're talking about these kind of assignments. They put everything on that page, and that page is used to determine like weighting. Like if you want to say assignments are worth 20% of the grade, the midterm's worth 30%, whatever. So there's like 2 levels of that, and we'll cross those bridges. But just so you know, that's what that whole assignment group thing's about. It's about categories, really, that would apply to your grade book. Think of it like that. But anyways, not a big deal right now, but there it is. Sue, yes.
So Chet, I know you're gonna get to this, but instead of like copying and pasting an entire assignment into this little screen, which would probably be a lot of text on the screen.
Yeah.
You can do it the same way you do in Moodle, right? Where you can load the file in there and then just put the assignment name and it'll link to the file.
Yeah, so like you're saying up here, if I put like a file, like, you know, like a form basically or something. So you could do, you know, you could do it right there. If you had your file, like if you had your file from, like actually it would already be in your course files, I would assume. You could pull it from there. Like, let me bear with me, guys. I'm gonna do this really quick. I should have done this earlier. I'm sorry. This will be super quick. Quicker than Word. Okay. For whatever. Let me assign you save to somewhere I can figure out where it's at on this thing. Oh, come on, you. Where are you going? Yeah, let's do this real quick. Okay. I think this is what you're saying, Sue. So say you could do the hyperlinking thing, but it's easier than that. So you could say, like, you know, we could say, like, I'm in files right now. I'm gonna go upload a new file. And keep in mind, you'd probably have already done this, but whatever. So desktop, where you at? There's form, open. And this is what I'm talking about, the browser stuff too, guys, by the way. Upload.
So you can't drag and drop that.
On certain pages, you can drag and drop files, but I just added it right there. So that is now like a linked document inside. Is that kind of what you're, I think that's what you're asking. So somebody's chatting, guys, just bear with me here, I'm sorry. Okay, do you have to have all of your assignments in the course files before? No, I mean, you can add them directly. I mean, really anytime you want. I mean, I just did that right now.
Will they be stored in the file?
Yes. Any files. That's kind of like your central file repository, by the way. You know, Moodle's got that too. It's very messy in Moodle. It's really messy in Moodle. It'll give you a headache if you think too long about it. But yes, that file. So you can really, anything you're in, whether it's a quiz, if you want to add something like that in the description area, you can access that menu. You know, that files, links, images, all that stuff. So it's really like wherever you're at, you can find that and just choose files you've already uploaded, or just like I did, just on the fly, add a file from my desktop in that case, and then you've always got that file to use wherever, whenever. Does it kind of make sense? Am I answering everybody's questions? Does that make sense, Connie? I mean, there was no particular order to that. I mean, I just did it.
Okay, it doesn't have that option for students, so I think they have to have their files in Canvas.
Yeah, I mean, when you say their file, you mean when they're uploading to an assignment, I think, is what you're saying, Connie? I mean, yeah, they're going to have to, I mean, well, they're in theory, like in this example, they're going to be downloading Sue's form file, filling it out, and then uploading it back to, you know, and the menu is very similar. I mean, they don't have the file browser like you guys have, but they do have, I would describe a miniaturized version of it. And they can see, like, if they've added multiple files, they can see past files. I don't know if we'll get that far, but it's there. So that kind of makes sense. Sue.
And so I'm clicking on files and it says 5.2 gig. Not that I'm.
Yeah, your limit.
Is that for all of our courses?
Yeah, that's your course quota. Yeah. I pray none of you get close to that.
I mean, for all of our courses. No, I
No,
know
no, that's
that.
per course.
Oh, per course.
Because some of you guys have really large courses to begin with, and I had to set it that way just to get your courses to Canvas.
Okay, you put that list.
Yeah, that's not the default, guys.
Right.
Default. And if we go, we'll be passing around the plate if we go too crazy. And guess what, guys?
Costs more money.
The board will get a letter saying, hey, we're going to need like $15,000 more to go to a terabyte.
I know, good to know.
I don't think we'll cross that bridge, guys. On Moodle right now, you're averaging like in a given year, this is 3 semesters, guys, pretty much a summer, a fall, spring, and a winter intersession. You're averaging in the low mid, we're in the low mid 240-ish gigs range
For all of them?
for everybody. But I'm rotating you heavily. I mean, it's like a life cycle, guys. Things have to go away. New things come on, you know, yeah, it's complicated. This is different, by the way, on that front, but I don't even want to go there right now to really, it's too early for that.
You
So,
just said, right.
right. Thanks. We were getting into the weeds there. Sorry, guys. Thanks, Sue. So anyways, display grade as points. You've got options here. You know, if you don't want to be stuck in points, you can kind of, you know, you can see that it can be not graded. A group assignment. This is a special thing. I'm sorry, I should show you submission type first. It's very important, actually. This is the, you know, how do you want this thing? Online, you know, is like the file. Sorry. The file upload. So if I click online, it gives me options. You know, do I want the online text entry? Do I want file uploads? You know, how you can restrict it by type. Some of you are doing that in Moodle right now. I have mixed feelings about it. I think it tends to, every once in a while, a student will, it's good in a way because you'll say, I just want Word docs. You know, I just want docx's or docs or whatever, or just PDFs. It's good, but I don't know if it really solves the problem because they just complain they can't do it then. So that's the downside of that, but that's totally possible. Yeah, Sue.
So I know that in Moodle too, there are some ways where they connect either from like Google Docs or whatever it is they load.
Mhm.
I can't open it. I can't
Yeah.
remember what it is.
And it's stuff coming from their OneDrive, from OneDrive through Microsoft. That's an option. That is here too. You know, they can go those avenues. We can restrict them at some level. It's a can of worms. It's tricky, guys.
So what's the recommendation so that we can be assured that when we get something,
Yeah.
or see something, we can actually open it?
I mean, if you want to be 100% safe, I mean, at this point, and I think they've made some progress. We could talk with IT about that. But here's the problem. They could do that from their own Google Drive too. It gets beyond, they could do it from a personal Microsoft account. It goes beyond our own student accounts as part of the problem. You get into all these different accounts. If you want to be 100% safe and not worry about that or not even approach that, you could just do the file uploads option. And because here's the deal, guys, if they send a file, I know in Moodle you're used to having to download the file now and stuff and view it. You know, for a while there we lived in the good territory of being able to view the file. It's like this in Canvas, guys. Canvas is very good about file previewing. You can, like your syllabus, like they don't have to download. I mean, they can, it's right there. But they don't have to, when you upload that, it's going to open up a file previewer. They can view it right inside Canvas without downloading it. Of course, they can download it, print it, do whatever they want to. That's an option. Same thing with this, guys. It's back. You know, the inline grading we had to turn off in Moodle because it kept crashing the server and causing all kinds of fun.
Yeah, right after I
That deal,
learned
it was all you, Linda. But anyways, so that's back in force for everything, really. So that's the good news there. Yeah, I know, Linda. So, I mean, that's just it's a tricky thing because we don't want to restrict them. And sometimes they're being told to do it that way, you know, like one instructor will go, oh, it's a really good idea. And understandably, you know, they use this and then they might run into your class and you go, don't do that. And it's just like, I know it's Wild West out there, guys. And that's the problem with that because it is it's beyond the college at some level. It's about them and their settings. They might have like a privacy setting on those files. It's like, you know, YouTube when you do videos, are they unlisted? Are they private? Are they public? It gets really tricky. So, but you could totally preview the files. There's really no big reason why they shouldn't just be able to do files, you know, for what it's worth. You have something, Linda, or you
Nope.
Okay. I mean, that's one of those things, guys. There's no submission also or on paper external tool. And that's if you just want to count this as a grade item. You know, you're kind of making a grade item in the grade book, not really expecting anything. It's a field trip. I just want to create an item in the grade book to grade it. That's what you're doing there. Yeah, exactly. That's what you're doing there. So I've set this for file uploads. This is a group assignment. You got to have groups set up to do this. It's a little trickier than it sounds. What this means is
All three of you are southpaws? Really?
We have 3 left-handed individuals in the room, so I don't, I'm not sure what that means for our future. But anyways, and Wendy Peck is actually paying attention today, I think, what I can tell. So it's probably, the apocalypse is probably going to happen by 3:30 today. So anyways, the group assignment thing. I will not bog you down with this, but yes, groups exist in Canvas just like Moodle. Good news. I get this phone call a lot. Hey, my students can't post to this discussion forum, or they can't do this or that. The group thing, it won't let them, groups in Moodle right now are a bit of a mess, guys. And that's due to a lot of things, even beyond Moodle. It's a long story. It's way too easy to engage groups in Moodle. I mean, if you just mouse over the button, accidentally click it, you got groups on all of a sudden, and people can't do anything because you didn't set groups on, or groups up, because you didn't want groups. So, but it's there. There's a special meaning for this. It means that one person could submit for the people in that group, and you can kind of grade them all that way. So it's kind of special in that sense. That may be more confusing than it's good for, but that is a possibility. You'll see sorry, I hit the wrong button. You'll see assign grades to each student individually. There's some options here. You can create groups. I don't have any groups right now in this course, I don't believe, but that's an option. There's also peer reviewing. What that means in simplest terms is you guys have this thing called SpeedGrader. It's not on this page. I'll show it to you. It's that inline grading we're talking about where you see the file. And SpeedGrader works for discussion forums. It works for quizzes. It applies to everything in this system. And it's just a grading interface, kind of like what you did with assignments in Moodle. It lets you grade everything kind of at once and not have to even go to the gradebook. You can honestly not go to the gradebook for most of these classes. There are exceptions, obviously, but just saying you could really avoid it if you wanted to. So there is that. So that's kind of peer reviews if you want to let other students kind of chime in and review. And you could use rubrics that way. They could use the rubric. That's kind of getting out there into advanced territory, but that's possible. You could assign to everyone by default, or you could pick your groups or certain students. So you can see, I've got student 1 and student 2 here. If I needed to just control this just for them, I could do that. The whole group, the whole class, do it by section. Say you've got one of those courses where we add a couple sections to your course because you don't want to manage 2 different courses and it's all the same stuff, it's online, whatever. You can do it that way. So,
How would you do that?
I'm sorry, Sue, which?
If you would have the same assignment
You mean 2 different, even if you have 2 different sections in one class?
Right.
Well, I'm just saying if you wanted to separate them, you could, or you could just do everyone because we're going to put them all in,
you had them in groups.
Yeah. And if we always tell people if you don't like that idea, we do that for your convenience, actually. It doesn't matter to us because we always just figure like if you've got the same class, same format, you probably don't want to recreate everything twice or play these copy paste games or import all the time. And, it's just, if it's the same stuff, it's better to keep it that way. These group and there's sections and there's group tools to let you manage that. So, that's if you like it separate, and some of you do, and that's totally fine. So that's your call. So you just let us know on that one. But anyways, you got the due, be available from until. So, you click the calendar, set your due dates and your time that way. So pretty basic stuff there. And you can also, again, get more fancy with it, but with the assign thing, if you want to add additional criteria. And you can also click the notify users that this content has changed box. If you made an important change, do you think it's worth to depending on how their preferences are set up, to get that text, hopefully not in this case, but or to get that email about, hey, we changed the assignment, just FYI. So you can do that if you want to. So I'm going to go ahead and save this thing. I'm going to take groups off. Yeah, it's at the very bottom. See that little? It's a tiny little checkbox. Yeah. Most of you are not going to have to worry about that issue. I'm just going to take this to file uploads, 10 points. I'm going to hit save. I'm sorry, I outsmarted myself. Try and hit save there. Okay. Okay, there we are. See, there's our form we talked about. It's been saved. Here's SpeedGrader. I'll tell you what we're going to do. I'm going to show you the student's perspective really quick here. I'm going to be student 2 here. You guys cannot do this. I wish you could in some ways. In some ways, I'm glad you can't. I'm very conflicted, guys. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
cute little-
Yeah, it's very, you know, it's very sweet. It sounds very sweet, but anyways, basically what I'm doing is becoming that person for this purpose. See, I didn't publish it, so I kind of, you know, I outthought myself or didn't think enough. So let's go back here.
I just got mildly confused because when you're on the assignment down the bottom, there's a little add button. Like that just means you're adding more information to it as opposed to the save and publish button.
Let me see what your
Oh,
document.
I know what I just got confused.
I'm sorry.
No, that was you. It was definitely.
Were you on
It wasn't. So,
Okay, there it is.
and
You
then
want to edit?
yeah. So when you're down here, this little add
It's
thing.
adding additional.
I
assignment.
know,
Yeah,
and,
that's what.
and I
Yeah.
hit it 3 times.
I know,
and
I
it's
did too,
going-
and it got mad at me too. So yeah, be careful with that, guys. Just don't overthink it, guys. And I'd say that's the problem with Moodle, you know, with all these bells and whistles and buttons, especially for this first, you know, unless you're really comfortable, it's easy to jam yourself up. I didn't have the course published. That's why I couldn't, now I'll try it again. I'm sorry. So
That's why we do that.
that's why we do this. So, okay. Okay, I'm going to be ECC student 2 again. And I'm going to kind of show you, here's our first assignment. There it is for me. Don't have much in the course right now. I click on that. I'm a True Blue student at this point, guys. Here's my big submit assignment button up here. In theory, I would fill out your forms too and do that. I'm going to hit submit assignment. Here's my file upload as a student. Here's the Google Drive and Office 365 that Sue is dreading. It's there, guys. So I'm going to do choose file. This will be quick. I've already got this form again. Upload. Notice I can click add another file. So if you need multiple files, just kind of, you know, I'm a student right now, right? I can keep adding away. I got a little comments box here. Hope you like what I submitted. I'm a good kid. Don't hurt me.
I know it's a little late.
Yes.
but-
I
So-
spent a whole hour on
2 months, it's, you know, it's not much different than 1 month. It's just 4 more weeks. So submit assignment. So I'm submitting here. Sorry, same thing. Eventually. There it goes.
Chat question.
Okay, Karen,
If
what do we got?
the student fills out the form, will they need to save it to their computer and then upload it?
Yeah, I mean, they want to make sure it's, you know, not the file they downloaded. I mean, they need to make sure it's theirs. Most of you are going to say, hey, put your name on it or something like that. I mean, you want to make sure, well, your computer itself will generally complain, hey, this file already exists. You know, I mean, you're going to, you know, that's going to probably be solved that way. But yeah, they'll want to make sure that, you know, they're saving the actual version that they have entered the content for. So there it is. You know, notice I can resubmit. I can see details. I can download it. The thing about resubmitting is it kind of pushes out that file. It doesn't delete it per se. Notice now I have this, click here to find a file you've already uploaded. So I can browse this other stuff because I'm adding new stuff, right? This is an unlikely scenario, but just saying it could happen. You got a question, Sue?
Does the student have unlimited time, or can you set
Yeah.
a limit? Because my question is, you know, you always invariably get a student who uploads the wrong document, and once in Moodle when they hit submit,
Sure.
they couldn't go.
Yeah, this is I would describe this as less options in a way, because that's draft status, what you're talking, the infamous draft settings and submission. But it's like this quasi status where they send it to you and you can see it and they get locked, or they hit it all the way, they submit, and then they see if they're not in draft, if they submit all the way, then they're locked out. So this kind of avoids that whole, you're not so much locked out here, Sue. Because that was always, you have to go open it for them, and very rarely can anybody find that button because it's buried. So it's understandable, guys. So anyway, so there it is. I'm going to stop being the student so I can show you. So you kind of get the idea there. I'm eventually going to stop being the student. Okay, so here I am. I'm the teacher now. So I go, notice I say 0 of 1 submissions graded. So I got one. And it would tell me this on the front page, by the way. It would say to do. I'll go there real quick. I'll try to. You know, I didn't give it a date, so it won't say to do. That's my fault. I will say this. This is important. Do yourself a favor, and I get maybe you don't want to or don't need to, but if you really want to be on top, add open and close dates. And most of you do. I'm not worried about it. Because otherwise, the to-do list, kind of keeping you up to speed on things, doesn't really apply because things are always open. You know, Moodle's kind of that way too, guys. If things don't have dates on them, these systems can't do a whole, you know, you're just kind of out there on, you know, whenever you go to it, that's when you see it. So it'll help you out a lot if you had dates, because then it can say, hey, you need to do this, you know, and stuff like that, or it makes it look like it's much more in your face about what you need to grade or what they need to submit. So I'll go to SpeedGrader here. This will help me view the submitted assignment. Keep in mind, again, the SpeedGrader thing is not just for assignments. It's for discussion forums, everything. So hold on, guys. It's going to load here, I hope. There it is. And notice you've got kind of like Moodle, you've got the whole markup. You can do the annotations review thing. It will save that as a PDF, just like Moodle kind of did. You can do comments. You can do, you got the attachments, you can do little recordings if you want. If you want to do recording responses. Again, that's where the 500 gigs comes in.
Really?
If you really think it's necessary, go for it. But
I used to do that, and I
Yeah.
would record a file, and I had a special thing to do that, and
Yeah.
what a pain.
This is a little much more integrated. Yeah, and so there's the grade. Obviously you can see the file here.
But you flag me, apparently, if I start doing that.
No, I'm not. I say if you have the motivation to do that, go for it. We'll cross that bridge if we get in trouble. But no, I say go for it. I'm going to give the student a 7 out of 10. You can see submitted, details, all that kind of stuff. There's the file. You can download the file, so forth.
I have,
Yes, Linda.
so let's say we do the record.
Mhm.
What can the student do with our recordings? Is it?
Anything, Linda.
copyable? Is it, all right.
Post them to Facebook.
No,
Depending on what
they
words you
could.
say.
I would say this, Linda. No matter what kind of security they built in here, I could screen like I could use Zoom. I could get a free Zoom account. I could watch you play your video, and then I could record that. I could take that to an editing suite.
Okay.
Much of this stuff's free anymore. If you want to go low end, or you can, if you've got money, you can buy whatever you want to do. I'm just saying, yeah. if you're comfortable with it, I would just. And I would always say this about this online stuff, guys. Anything that you can see, or that you're putting out there, it's
Just
it's okay. I get it, guys.
love what motivation you attribute
I
to our students.
Man. So
They
I-
say
it's a good point. No, it's a good point, Linda.
Right.
And
My students don't come up.
that's another session.
So,
Yes. But no, that's it's a good point. It's something to think about. If you're not comfortable with it, I would say just, obviously don't, worry about it. But yes, you can do the file thing too. And any annotations you make on here are saved too as a file. So
thank you.
there is that. Yep. So, and you can navigate students, with a couple menu options, kind of like the Moodle way, how it was in Moodle. These are kind of uniform things, guys. I can start navigating around or so forth and so on. You can go directly to the grade book if you wanted to see it that way. There's poster hide grades, there's settings, and this is how you sort the list and stuff in SpeedGrader, so you could, by submission status, needs grading, not submitted. So if you just want to see those, you can do that too, it's there. You won't hit the save button there. But anyways, so that's kind of that. I'll kind of get out of there. Back up. I meant to go. Where am I at? I'm sorry. Yeah, and I will say, guys, SpeedGrader will open a new window, a new tab for you. Be aware of that. Because you noticed how I tried to back out. I wasn't really thinking. Sorry, it's Friday. And I ran out. This is actually water in here now, and I ran out of the actual, highly caffeinated sugar mix. So anyways, I'm on fumes here, guys. So anyways, here's our actual, Canvas page. SpeedGrader always opens in a new tab. So if you're done with that, save it, exit out, whatever, and just, so forth. So here we are back at this place. I'll go back home. I spent a lot of time on assignments, guys. Any questions about that? Okay, gonna hit our plus button, and we're gonna add a discussion, and I will not spend a lot of time on this. It's pretty basic. I'm gonna say new topic. I'm gonna say our sample discussion. Add item. Okay, here it is. Notice it's closed still. Notice I need to kind of click on it because I probably want to make some kind of instructions or prompt, So I can click edit, maybe,
Chad, I have a question.
Yeah, Stephanie.
So in every module, I have to go in and publish every single thing individually, or when I publish the course, is everything opened at once?
That's a good question, Stephanie. Like, I'll go back here. Okay, you're throwing me off my game, Stephanie.
Sorry, don't do it then.
No, it's a good question. It's worth answering, trust me. So I created that, right? The course is already published, right?
Uh-huh.
So notice again how I, where's it at here? Like week 1, I just unpublished week 1. I publish it again. So if you wanted to like activate everything, you can kind of control it at the week or topic level.
Okay.
So, but notice it's active now, so be aware of that, you know. So you don't have to necessarily hit that every time, but keep in mind if you're making these things, like I'm kind of going from the scenario where you're making new content, you know.
Okay,
And I know your courses are migrated over, so you can kind of use that toggle on and off.
okay.
But I will say one of the common complaints about Canvas is they are really, you know, in Moodle it's kind of like the opposite. Everything's on by default.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it's like a reverse strategy, you guys. And here they're trying to play it safe and keep you guys from putting things out there accidentally. And that's happened. You know, instructors are like, well, they can see my quiz and I'm working on it. You know, I'm still adding questions. You know, I still wanted to add some more questions. And then you're locked out and you can't add any more questions. That's happened, guys. It can happen. So that's the downside of Moodle is, yeah, it's really, but it's easy because you don't press a bunch of buttons. I mean, it's right there. It happens. But the problem is you can end up in those situations. It doesn't happen every day, but so yeah, I mean, it's, you know, you can control it that way, but I'll go back to the edit phase. We published it by doing that. So, you
So
can see,
basically, just because the whole course is published does not mean they can see anything until I go in and
yeah,
publish individual weeks.
control at the individual level, the item level, and you have control at the week or topic level, the module level. So just like Moodle, really, Moodle has that same control structure: course level, week, topic level, and then item level. So that's all kind of the same. It's just the difference here is they're kind of being safe. They're playing it safe, for better or worse. Might drive you nuts and publish a lot, I know, but because you kind of have to, you know, I mean, it just depends on how you're going about it. But yeah, you can kind of force it all too if you want and not hit publish all the time. But it just depends on if you're building a course from scratch, how annoying that is, or if you've already got a bunch of content. So anyways, you got a question, Linda? Yes.
So if I'm understanding this correctly, thank you for showing all this. So every time we go to create a discussion or an assignment, we have to click on the new thing and then we have to create it and then we have to go back in and edit it. There's not so we've got to like give a title and then go in and.
Yeah, I mean, kind of, I mean, keep in mind, the stuff from Moodle's already there. I mean, so you're kind of not having, but yeah, if it's from scratch,
Then it's
then you have to kind of go, yeah, it's probably like at least one extra click than you're used to in Moodle, because Moodle tries to bring you to that page once you do it. Here, it's like they kind of put you back on the front page.
And that's,
I know, I
just so
believe
I
me.
know it's not
That's,
me
no, it's
when I
not you,
do
Linda.
it.
No, and there are several workflow, here's what I would say to that in general too. I'll say this about this system. There's many, and I talked about this in some of our intro stuff. There are many great things about it. There's probably about 10 things that annoy the living hell out of me about it. Okay, and that's just, that you probably pick anything and say that about anything. Overall, I think it's totally worth it. And they're number one, we just don't have Moodle in the summer. That's kind of a reason right there. But I'm not going to lie, guys. Everything's got its rough, you know, its moments. That's something. But the one saving grace I will say is this company, or however you want to look at it, the product. They are much more. It's not. They don't always, you know, just because I ask for something. It's a little more community driven, and they are more responsive. And they're much more frequent about making changes. So if you don't like something, I mean, and a lot of people probably don't like it either in most cases. So don't fret too much because they may change it. So, but no, it's a great question, Linda. So I'm saying, please respond to me, somebody. It's okay. So, and again, here I can do, you know, you have options. You can allow liking now, guys, if you want. I know that's what you're really waiting for. So here's one you really will like. The users must post before seeing replies. It's a unit. It's kind of an easy setting here in Moodle. There's a forum type dedicated to that, which is a nightmare. And I know Laura's here. I think still, if she's still here, she could tell you it's complicated, guys. It doesn't work like you think it would, and it just boggles the mind. And it's changed over the years in Moodle 2 how it's implemented. It'll drive you nuts. Anyways, so. You can do the group discussion thing if you want. So that's a possibility. You can do the available from and until thing. And what that really means is it's closed from comments. So students can still see the forums. That's a big complaint about Moodle. You know, they can always keep posting. And so this kind of solves that dilemma. So.
What's the enable podcast?
Oh.
Or is that later?
It's later, but
Okay.
that's if you want to, I mean, I don't know if many of you are going to go there, Sue. I mean, if you really want to like do all that linking stuff and let them, I just don't know if you want to go that elaborate.
I didn't know
you,
if it was just like, when then
It's-
you did the podcast, if you could upload it here, if it's something completely different, but.
no, you're in the right direction. But yes, we just, you know, you can really, I don't know if any of you will do that, but you could try it if you want. you probably be like the first. There's like a couple of you that do the only users in Moodle that do 2 things. So you'd be in that criteria. It's
I have
like,
a question.
Stephanie.
The available from
Mm-hmm.
and until date.
Yep.
In Moodle, if you put in those dates, it like unlocks a student, right, or something. Like on this, can they
They can still see it, if that's what you're
they
asking.
can see it, and so they cannot even access it to post until it opens, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's basically like, it's not so much hide and close. It's just, their ability to post and reply, or reply really.
All right. So we should do that so that it shows up on our page. So we have, as faculty, it'll show up as something to grade or do. Correct?
Yeah. I mean,
You
if you,
want us to do that?
it's, that would help.
Okay.
I mean, because if you don't, it does create that conundrum of it's always kind of an open thing.
Right.
So,
I just wanted to clarify. Thank you.
The difference between the add to the student to do. I mean, when you put in the available from and until, that shows up in the student's feed there too, doesn't it?
Mhm.
So the add to the student to do, is that something different from their like feed on the side that tells them all things that they have to do?
you're saying the difference between like this setting, Sue, is really just at the bottom, the difference between that and this. I mean, you're right. This will add it directly to there, and see how it's got the date option there. But this is just another way of, if you want to go all the way. This is really about the closing of the comments part. This part is like 100% dedicated to that.
Okay.
I should say.
And that students see.
Yeah.
Right?
Mhm.
Okay. So the add to do is just.
Yeah. That's if you want to just avoid.
Really annoy them.
Yeah. I know that's like multiple layers of, I know. There's that stuff.
We have like 17 add to do.
Yeah. And that's, and keep in mind, guys, they're going to see all this stuff, but when you add the dates, it lets them kind of see what I've completed or not. Because if you don't do that, they kind of can't always tell so easily, because it's always open. They don't even know they need to do things sometimes, unless they're really just looking at it line by line. That's what you're trying to solve by doing the whole to-do list or the dates. So, I'll go ahead and save this so you can see it. And here's really the key difference. Another thing I'll say, because we don't have much time. I don't even know if we're going to get to quizzes today, guys. You guys okay with that? I may just dedicate a whole session to that. And that's actually might make sense, because that is the big change. When we go to fall, that's actually changing. Yeah. So, chat. Let me see. Okay. Looks okay. All right. Sorry, guys. Looking at the chat there. So here we go. You can see, I'm just saying, please respond to me, somebody. They would just click reply. And I know most of you are used to Moodle, where everybody kind of gets their own threaded, like original posting. But Canvas is really more geared towards everything's a reply, which if you think about it, they all are replies in reality, to your prompt or your posting or whatever. So it really is that way. The problem I see this potentially creating for the thing you need to get your head around is, I'm posting that reply. You can see it's indented, typical discussion forum stuff. What happens, Steve?
No.
Okay. So, and notice too, guys, there's options for unread. Like there's a little, it turns colors. If I haven't, I can mark it as unread. So that'll refresh on its own once you've looked at something. So all that's possible. You can search by student, right there directly. Up here, SpeedGrader is around here somewhere. Where is it at? Oh, I didn't give this. Did I make this worth any points? Hold on, guys. Oh, I did not. So I need to make this worth 10 points or whatever you want to make it worth. And I'll save that. I'll update that. That's why I didn't have SpeedGrader. I'm sorry. And here we are. So if I clicked here now, I've got SpeedGrader. So I could grade, I could go do SpeedGrader, and I could grade my post replies that way. I have not added anything as a student, but it would all appear there. And the nice thing is you can see all of that per discussion forum on that one page, because like I said, this is different than Moodle, where you've got like their own thread, their own little breakout. So, keep that in mind. The only way any of you were really keeping track of that in a sane way was to use activity completion. and so few of you ended up using that, or at this point, I don't know, does anybody have any thoughts on that? And the fact that this is all much more flat and much more reply to your main discussion prompt. I mean, I think it's great from a simplicity perspective. I could see why you might not like that whole traditional method of, hey, one original posting, 2 replies. I mean, I don't know if you want to get caught up in that, or that's the only thing I could see where it might throw you for a loop, or if you're married to that concept, or
Yeah, I still remember
yeah.
when you're like having to reply and then reply to reply.
Mhm.
And that's what I missed about WebCT basically, was their discussion forum was much richer, I thought, and looked much more like a conversation. Whereas
Mhm.
my experience with the Moodle stuff, once I wasn't setting up right, it's like,
Everything's broken out into its own little topics, their own little mini
there's
discussions.
too many choices from one.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah. And this is much, I mean, this is way more in your face. I mean, it's, the only downside to this is like, that level, if you have a huge discussion,
You can reply
Yeah.
to reply.
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, you can go infinitely deep, however, as long as however many you want to
I
reply
like
to.
that.
It's more in your face. And if you just want to quickly get to the heart of the matter, or just look at a certain student, you can do it right there. And you can use SpeedGrader and see everything they've said, if you're going to grade them that way. And not all of you do, sometimes you guys will just create a column in the grade book, and you might look at this and just type their name in and say, or just do SpeedGrader and say, okay, that person's got 6 replies. Kind of lets you see it though, all in one place, because 6 replies, what does that mean? Are they good replies? Are they just a number? Are they really poor replies? So you might kind of skim that. I don't know how far you want to go, that varies wildly. Mhm. Some of you read all of them, and some of you play a numbers game, and I get that. But.
have best practices that they have to follow. And maybe if I just relabel.
Yeah, it's a semantics thing. When you might just say, I just need 3.
Original post.
Yeah. And it could be just like that, because I know we're very stuck in that. I think from the Moodle aspect of it being kind of like that. So.
Can you private reply on these things?
Not in the sense you're talking. It doesn't break out like that, Sue, at this point. But yeah, that is a commonly asked thing. I'm surprised they don't have it in that sense. Hold on here. I thought somebody had a chat. Can you have a rubric in discussions in that? Yes, you can.
Yeah, that's what they have.
Mhm. Yeah, and then Ned asked about the rubric. It's right there on your little menu. You can add a rubric. Again, I will say Canvas is very good about allowing you to do rubrics for almost anything. Not everything, but almost any kind of assessment type thing you can do a rubric for.
Can you only add a rubric when you're inside of an assignment, or is there like a separate path to just create?
Yeah, and there's actually like shared rubrics. You can share. So there's that's a whole nother, but no, totally, so yes. And that's kind of ties into the whole assessment thing, where we're going to have universal, hopefully possibly universal rubrics you can choose from. There's a whole nother rubrics or a whole outcomes, it's all tied together. There's this whole system, guys, in the background about rubrics and what you can use or not use or create, So it's a good question. It's pretty basic. I know we don't have much time left. I will hold off on showing you quizzes, or maybe I can show you one really quickly. With the caveat that this is going to change August 17th, as I recall. They're going to a new. Because you might need to know. Actually, I'll probably say we only have 2 minutes left, if that. So we'll incorporate this into another one. But I just want to talk about it real quick. I'll just hit the highlights for you. It's a little simpler, I think, than Moodle's. It's a little cleaner, definitely clearer what you're doing. The new one that we're going to allows, and this is something we get asked a lot, a quiz has gone wrong for a student. We always have to do special things. Give them a new attempt. And that can be why it can be simple, or it may be I try to become them and copy what they did already in the previous attempt. This is all really laborious and wild stuff. We'll try to make it work however. But anyways, what I'm saying here, the good news is now you can reopen attempts, which I think is what some of you've asked for over the years. So you can reopen an attempt that's gone bad, so they don't lose all their answers and have to start us from scratch. It does autosave. You can force saves too, so I don't see any problems there. Anytime you answer a question, it saves. That's a good thing, I think. Because even Moodle with its autosaving, if you're in a weird point, it's autosaving every 3 minutes last time I checked. Even if you're at a weird point, say you wrote a long answer, it can happen to you still. It's better than it's ever been. But there are those problems. I mean, the publisher stuff's all pretty similar. You know, we can always like import stuff for you, help you with that. You can, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Does this incorporate, or are we ever going to purchase a browser lockdown or anything like that?
That's a question. I mean, like there's Respondus lockdown browser. There are a number of solutions like that. I mean, the approach we're kind of going with, guys, in general is just, because here's the problem with that, Sue, like, and this system doesn't, I mean, none of them, I mean, like Moodle's got its own little safe mode or secure mode, but you can still screenshot it. There's so many ways around. That's why we have the whole proctored assessment set up, because at the end of the day, you know, when you could take a test at home or whatever, we know that now, unless you're doing ProctorU, I mean, that's a whole nother story there, but unless you're doing some type of officially proctored thing, you know, I always say, look, I would not, you know, I'm not saying you want to make them worthless, but I consider most of those type of quizzes low stakes quizzes. You know, at the end of the day, it's that final midterm, whatever, that assessment, whatever measure you use that is more proctored or that's in, you know, whatever environment that's controlled, that's where you're going to get. Because, man, I swear, I mean, just no matter what you do, there's a way out of it. And I think I think they just kind of, you know, I think they just saw that and they were like, we're not even going to approach it. Because Moodle has a funky version that causes about as many problems as it solves, because it blocks pop-ups and keyboard shortcuts. And but you can still screenshot it, you can still record it. I'm sure you know, and from there you can print it. You know, there's a million ways around it, guys. So that's just the dilemma there. It's a good question, but I don't see anything like at this point in this system. Make it, you know, you could try. I just worry that, man, even with lockdown browser, unless you're in a location, you know, there's always just some way without, because you have to almost control that person's computer entirely, that browser entirely. That's a tough thing to accomplish. So, okay, any thoughts on that? So yes, you will be able to reopen. I think generally the question banks are cleaner to manage. I will say that about it. It's clean. It just looks cleaner. It looks nice. Timers, all that stuff's still in play. You have much more control about for, you know, accommodations for double time, for overtime. You know, Moodle, it's like all or nothing. We have to give them unlimited. You have to kind of track, did they go over double 200% time? This you can do 200% time directly. You can do whatever time you want, or you can just say unlimited. And that'll apply, you know, for the entire student in your class for all assessments. Kind of like what you ask us to do. You'll have control over that now and at many more levels. So that's a good thing. Other than that, you know, it's not terribly different than what you do in Moodle. It's ugly to edit quizzes, guys. I'm not going to lie. It's just the whole process, no matter what you do it in, is going to be kind of messy. But I will say, it's as painless as it's ever been in this system. And you can use surveys too. And they can be ungraded quizzes, ungraded surveys, graded quizzes, graded surveys. No more maximum grade. That thing that drives you nuts. Remember that little thing at the top where it's defaulted at 10 in Moodle all the time? It's like you have your total points that you're creating. It's like you set that in the quiz. And it's not nearly as complicated to have these multiple, like this is the total, this is the maximum grade. They can be different. That thing always throws everybody off, it seems like. So it's one of those idiosyncrasies of Moodle things. Any questions? I know we're a little over time. Any thoughts? Questions? Go
One
ahead.
question.
Or Stephanie?
What about that whole thing of excluding grades or including grades? Remember that?
Yeah, you can do that here.
You need to?
You need to? I mean,
The students, like, they get so confused when I finally include the grade toward the end.
oh, you're talking. This is a great point, Stephanie. You're talking about.
Is that different? You could tell me a different day.
No, I know what you're talking about. I'm going to go become this student here. I think we gave him a grade, so this is going to work. Stephanie's talking about the dilemma of show everything, count everything at once. And we always, in Moodle, this is called exclude empty grades. It's a setting buried in your grade book. If you get there, you get $100 if you can find it. Anyway, so I'm the student right now, right? I'm going to go to my grades here. So this is worth talking about. So right now I've got two things, 20 points total in the course. I got a 70% on my first assignment. Didn't do the next one. Oops, I touchscreen. Sorry guys, it's touchscreen. Oh, come on. All right, we're gonna do that again. Sorry, I swiped the screen. So I got a 70%, right? But so right now, Stephanie, by default, it's set to just show me what I've done. Because if I don't do that, everything's always counting. That's the old Moodle dilemma, right? Notice over here, if I want to be, you know, I'm a student right now, like true blue student, guys. I can say, hey, calculate, you know, right now it's checked. I don't want to do that. I uncheck it. Now I got a 35. So they can do this. This gets even better, guys. Like you can run simulations. Like, I don't know if they'll ever get this far, but you can actually, as a student, I can run a simulation. What if I get a 10 here? Now I got an 85. And notice up here it says, note, this is not your official score. Revert to actual score. So you can do those as a student, and it will tell you, you know, so they have control over that in that sense. Obviously, you see it in your own grade book, but so does that help, Stephanie?
So I do not have to set it or unset it. They can control it the way they want to see it.
On them, Stephanie. You're not in that game. Because that game is a tough game to play.
It is.
It's like, it's catch-22. If you know, either way.
Thank you. I'm glad it's on them. They can look at it however they want.
There you go.
Turn that feature on Avisio where, you know, they can see the students' grades, how that's gonna.
Well,
That
wouldn't
student would look like, oh, they're getting a 70%.
Yeah, that's a good,
There's-
Wendy's asking about Aviso and how it ties it, you know, it'll get these grades from Canvas just like it's getting them from Moodle right now. But there are many, many questions and many things to think about there and things to consider. Because here's the deal. Number one, if you're not keeping an active grade book, it's irrelevant. Number two, you know, how often do you grade? Is it really worth? I mean, there's so many little.
Didn't I say they weren't gonna turn that on until every?
Yeah.
Well, they said that, but I think it's on now.
I don't. I know. Yeah, I know they're getting grade. I mean, I know they're getting grade data from some of these classes. Yeah. My understanding was we were just going to do it for the online courses, but that may have changed. That may have changed. So that was my understanding last time we spoke about it. But yeah, it's a conundrum because yeah, there's this. You know, it really is. You know, and I always view this as a human dilemma. I mean, I know we're looking at this like a technical issue, but this is more of like I don't know how any system would really handle how we think about it. Like, oh, I did really good on this test, great, but I've got 300 more to do.
I know, and you can't get that through to some students. no
Yeah.
matter how hard you-
So there really is no perfect solution probably. I think this is a nice one because it gives them flexibility. You know, it lets them see.
I love it because the onus goes back to them. So,
And the problem with Moodle was it didn't always, I mean, it told them like empty grades excluded. And it was such a tiny little row that they're like, unless you're looking at that and understanding that, you're not thinking like this. So this actually does say, hey, you know, calculate based. You can view grades, you know, what if, it kind of tells you, you know, whether they pay attention, that's another question, but that's the thing. So
That's the bigger question.
yes, that is the bigger.
they pay attention at the end. When it's like, "Hey, I haven't
It's
made
too
all the
late.
way up to my final. How am I gonna do my
Well,
final
and
class?"
guys,
It's like,
when all your scores are
"Oh,
dashes,
150 points."
yeah, when all your scores are dashes, it's not a good sign. So, you know, it's just not. But I think here's the killer. It's obviously you didn't do it. I mean, if you get into a course you didn't do it, you probably recognize that, hey, I didn't have to do a whole lot in this course. So there should be some kind of middle correlation, you know. But yes, there are, where is it at, guys? I was going to show you something else, and feel free to leave, guys. I'm not trying to keep anybody here, but past time. But there was something, I'm sorry. It's in the back of my mind right now. There's something I want to show you. Maybe it's here. It's here. Under these grade, I'm actually in the grade book right now in these settings. There's also a treat ungraded to 0. So if you don't want to, yeah, instead of you putting in a bunch of zeros.
I should have graded that.
Well, I mean, if you don't, because otherwise they're just like, you know, so that way you can kind of keep this even more up to date by not have to worry about putting in zeros in 10 million cells. You just do treat ungraded to 0. You save your changes there, wherever it's at. Or is this an auto? Some of these pages auto save. It drives me nuts. So there is that option. That way you're not doing the whole, you know, oh God, I got to enter 45 zeros today or over the course of the, you know, 2 or 3 assignments. So, you know, because that's the thing too, you know, if it's ungraded, you know, the kind of that balance of ungraded versus graded and So you shouldn't have to be in the zero entry game, you know, like giving people a bunch of zeros to keep their scores accurate, which is the case in Moodle right now. There is a screen in Moodle to do this. It's called Bolt. It's confusing. It's hard to find, and the usual story there. But any thoughts, questions? Sorry we didn't make it to quizzes. I promise we'll kind of do a little addendum to the.
Chatted you a question about discussions.
Okay, go ahead. You had a question about discussions?
Well, Tracy chatted one to you. I don't know if you saw it.
Let me see, guys. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Tracy. Okay. Okay. Then that's it. Can a student start the discussion by making the first post? You're kind of, yeah. I mean, they can. I mean, but keep in mind, it's just a reply to your prompt, to your discussion instructions. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, I think so. I'm just asking because they are assigned a system and they have to post a disease.
Mm-hmm.
And then everybody else replies with additional information to that disease post. So they're actually the original. And I just put in the link,
Yeah.
disease post week 3 or whatever.
In this case, Tracy, all those replies that next level down from the, your original prompt, your instructions
Yeah.
would all be the original post, quote unquote, in this context. And then everybody's reply would be indented further as child replies to that. I know that's just the strategy they use. I know it's the downside. I would describe this as like they went the opposite direction of Moodle, where Moodle made it really crazy and made way too much, and they went the route of let's keep this brutally simple.
Because when students first click on that disease, it has everybody's diseases listed, so they get to pick which disease they want to respond to. So this is really just going to be a full page of diseases, and then people have to, so it just looks maybe a little bigger,
It's going to be a little more to look at.
Okay.
An assignment like what Tracy's describing, I have one like on teratogens. So instead of maybe doing it in a discussion forum like we're used to, is there another suggestion for something like that?
I'm wondering if you could make it like an assignment and do the peer reviewing thing.
Oh, and then they could see.
Yeah, they could review each other's, articles, quote unquote, or their papers all in that, or however that might be an option. I'm thinking out loud here, Wendy, but there are possibilities there. Yeah, I will say there is an option. I don't think you guys will go here, but there is an option to allow students to make their own discussion forums. That's kind of like what you're talking about, but I think it's way too much more than you want, because they're actually like you're adding discussion forums. They show up that way, guys, at the top level. Like it's like they're like items in your class that not just tied to your forum or discussion. They're like whole nother areas where people can. I just don't think you want to go there. But that's an option. I wish they would have not done that option and made the more sensible. I think everybody add their own little mini discussion. So you could argue that that's a strength of Moodle. The downside we always got from that is where do I find, like students would get jammed up and they didn't know to click on that, or they would get lost or try to find somebody's reply. It was kind of, it almost follows the Moodle single simple discussion format is what this kind of is, if you think about it for more than 2 minutes. But
I have a quick question. I know we haven't touched on collaborations yet, but is that where you can set groups in there and allow students to discuss with each other?
Collaborations, Laura, that is really going to be tied to Office 365 or Drive, Google Drive. It really relies on that.
Okay.
Interplay between Canvas and like file group, peer file group sharing, where people can collaborate on a document. I don't
On the thing I was trying to do in Moodle, my forum, I'm wondering if it would make more sense to have it be a group assignment, but then they need a place that they can discuss what their group answer is going to be before putting it there.
I get what you're saying.
But I mean, they don't all have to be in the same place. So like I said, it might make more sense to use a group assignment for them to actually put their final answer, but then.
Yeah, I see what you're saying there.
But then maybe, I don't know, I'll have to play around with it.
Yeah, that one, I mean, you'll have to look at the collaborations too, and if it's enough for you or not enough is the question, like, yeah.
But they could potentially, well, I don't know. Will the discussions sort them by group so that they could each just have their own little discussion?
That's a good point. I didn't really talk about it, but yes, it kind of works like it works in Moodle in that sense, in a good way, that they just fellow group members in discussions when you do that.
So they could just discuss it there, and then once they agree on an answer, go over to the assignment and post one person
Exactly.
posted in the assignment.
That would work. So that kind of information should work for you. Thanks, Sue. I would say this, Nanette asked, can you have, we said yes, you can have rubrics in the discussions. So yes to that. And she also said, you don't need to go through me anymore. You certainly can if you want me to help you set it up, but you don't need to go through me anymore for the 200% time. You guys as instructors have control over that. So, but we're well past our time, guys. If you, I mean, I'll be glad to answer any questions. The next session starts in 15 minutes. But if you want to ask any more questions, and we'll move the quizzes and we'll see if we can get to them on the second session. I don't know. So it just varies. But Wendy was disruptive, so we couldn't quite make it.
I always slow things
Yeah,
down.
she really bogged her conversation.
Early because I had questions about the last one.
Oh, man.
You
I'm
can't, listen,
I'm leaving.
yeah,
I missed the last.
well, you started this.
Thanks. Sir.
I do.
All right,
Minor
guys.
though, but
I'll see you guys. Thank you for attending. No, hold on, David. I'll get with you in 1 second. Let me get the. All right. Let me stop this meeting.
I've been working on it.
All right. All right. Let me stop the recording.